She was the woman who turned a pair of denim shorts into a cultural phenomenon. A small-town girl who grew up on a ranch only to become one of TV's most iconic sex symbols. But behind the smile of Daisy Duke was a story of sudden fame, heartbreak, and personal tragedy that few people know. What is the stunning turn of events that led to her landing her iconic role? And what was the heartbreaking event that dumped Catherine into the depths of a depression? Stay tuned as we dig deep and uncover all of the fascinating facts about America's favorite country girl. Catherine Bach, The Wild Life of Daisy Duke, Fame, Scandal, and Survival. Born Catherine Bachman, March 1, 1954, in Warren, Ohio, Catherine was raised in the North, but that didn't explain her rustic, countrified ways. Catherine's mom, Norma Jean, was an acupuncturist who had been raised in Arizona and had Mexican heritage. Her father, Bernard, was a rancher and of German descent. Growing up, Catherine and her brother, Philip Bachman, spent a lot of time in Faith, South Dakota, where her grandparents lived. She developed a love of the outdoors, horseback riding, and adventure. Although Catherine's mom wanted her to become an English teacher, Catherine had something else in mind entirely. She enjoyed acting even when she was young. She made her professional debut as one of the children in the Sound of Music production. She enjoyed drama class and acted in school plays, graduating from Stevens High School in Rapid City, South Dakota in 1971. Torn between making her mom happy by pursuing a traditional college degree and teaching school, or waiting tables while she chased her dreams, Catherine left for UCLA, where she briefly attended, working towards a degree in drama, but she soon began landing roles and dropped out. Her first appearance on the big screen was in the murder mystery movie The Midnight Man with Burt Lancaster, shot in 1973. It was a small role. She played the murder victim, Natalie Claiborne. Her next role was a bit bigger in the Clint Eastwood movie Thunderbolt and Lightfoot in 1974. She was in the movie Hustle in 1975, as well as on TV in an episode of Matt Helm and a TV movie, Strange New World. Catherine met a young man by the name of David Shaw on a beach in Malibu in 1976. They married 3 months later. David happened to be the son of Angela Lansbury, who at the time was acting in movies and plays. In 1977 and 1978, she was in a TV movie, Murder in Peyton Place, as well as several episodes of Policewoman. She had a role in the 1978 movie Crazed. But it was in 1979 that she landed a breakout role in what she would become famous for, playing Daisy Duke in the new TV show The Dukes of Hazzard. There is a story within a story about how she wound up as Daisy. Her husband, David, worked as a construction contractor. He frequently hired out-of-work writers, struggling actors, and desperate producers for construction jobs. He hired a guy to paint a house who happened to be writing a show about an old moonshiner called the Dukes of Hazzard. After hearing about this, Catherine managed to snag an invitation to read for the part, but she didn't think she had a chance and lost interest. It was known at the time the executive producer for the show had a thing for Dolly Parton and wanted to hire a Dolly lookalike with blonde hair and fair skin. At 5'8" and 112 pounds, Catherine had long auburn hair and looked nothing like Dolly Parton. In an interview, she says, "I was at some little Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills with my girlfriend. I told her, I do have this interview that I'm supposed to go to, but I'm not. You know the part of Daisy Duke for Warner Brothers? They want me to come in, but I know I'm not going to get it." She goes, "It's Warner Brothers. You never know who you're going to meet on the way in and on the way out. Just go." So I went. Sitting around waiting her turn, she was the only one out of dozens of women who didn't have blonde hair or a blonde wig. Catherine was an amateur clothing designer and talented seamstress. She had enjoyed making some of her own clothing since she was young, and she had a side gig for many years earning extra money making and selling clothing to friends and acquaintances. The producers wanted the Daisy Duke character to wear a white turtleneck, blonde wig, poodle skirt, and go-go boots, but Catherine had a different idea. She showed up to the audition wearing a homemade t-shirt, short cut-off shorts, and high heels. She says, "After I did my reading during the audition, there was total silence. I thought, oh no, they didn't like what I did. Then everyone, we're talking about 30 people, got up and started clapping. They just connected with my vision of how this part should be played. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Georgia." The show, set in fictional Hazzard County, Georgia, was a light-hearted, action-packed comedy that followed the Duke cousins and their run-ins with the corrupt Boss Hogg, but Catherine stole every scene she was in. The show ran for 6 years, from 1979 to 1985. Over 145 episodes, Catherine drew plenty of attention to what was considered a family show with skimpy outfits, country twang, and even an occasional fistfight. Known for those short shorts, they became a cultural phenomenon and to this day are referred to as Daisy Dukes. Catherine earned a devoted fan base, however, not everything behind the scenes was rosy. She reportedly dealt with constant scrutiny over her appearance. Studio execs even required regular body measurements to ensure she maintained her Daisy figure, a practice that would be considered outrageous today. With so much attention on her looks, she knew she had to stay in her best shape. As she marched past her 20s and into her 30s, with millions of people watching her on the show, she attacked her physical fitness with aerobics, yoga, dancing, and swimming. "I have 2 dancing lessons every day I'm free, 90 minutes of ballet followed by 90 minutes of jazz," she said in an interview. "It is so exhilarating to be in tune with your body and with music." Catherine was on the cover of Shape magazine in 1982. She has said in interviews that she didn't stay in shape because of diet and nutrition. She was basically training full-time and living the life of an athlete. It was halfway through the series when she and David Shaw divorced. It was rumored that he was jealous anytime she had to parade around set wearing sexy clothing, which was frequently, and they just couldn't make it as a couple with her newfound stardom. The leadership team at Warner Brothers was pretty worried about Catherine's short shorts and the number of kids who watched the show, often with extremely interested fathers sitting beside them, every Friday night. They insisted she wear pantyhose beneath the shorts, which only tended to draw even more attention to her fabulous legs. She occasionally did her own stunts, especially in the first few seasons. While executives prayed for safety, some of the dads in the audience occasionally prayed for wardrobe malfunctions and would gossip at work the following Monday morning about what they saw. At one point, the production company insured her legs for $1 million, worried that without Catherine as Daisy Duke, the series would be over. The merchandising of the hit show grew to epic proportions. At one point, they were selling as much as $150 million worth of Dukes of Hazzard swag every year. The producers suggested Catherine shoot a poster, but their idea for setting and wardrobe made no sense to her. She donned a bikini and jumped into a photo shoot. The resulting poster sold over 5 million copies, and at one point even made an appearance at the Reagan-era White House when one of Catherine's former schoolteachers acquired a copy. As the show wrapped up, Catherine continued to do bit parts in various TV and movie projects. In 1990, she married entertainment lawyer Peter Lopez. In 1996, they had their first daughter. They followed this up with daughter number 2 in 1998. Tragically, Catherine's husband committed suicide in 2010, leaving her heartbroken with 2 young children. The day that it happened with Peter was a day like any other day. I was making breakfast and I was racing around the kitchen like a crazy woman, and he came up and stood behind me at the stove and he said, "Honey, you're forgetting something." So I dropped everything and I turned around and I went into his arms and wrapped myself around him and I gave him a big kiss. The girls went off with him, and when they got out of the car, he said, "Bye, I love you." They said, "Bye, Dad," and that was it. We never saw him again. She was completely unaware that he was depressed or dealing with any overwhelming issues. That, combined with the fact that she was being stalked at the time, made it a very confusing time and difficult to accept what had happened. There was somebody that was stalking me at that point, and the police thought that this person had found me and that the gunshot that went off was for me, not for Peter. So it was completely shocking, and nobody understood what had happened, especially not me, because we were very happy. Catherine struggled for years, going to group therapy and reading everything she could on suicide to try to understand what had happened. She hyper-focused on connecting with and raising her 2 daughters. She found that acting helped keep her busy, distracting her in a good way. Her most notable role after the Dukes of Hazzard series was in the soap opera The Young and the Restless, where she played Anita Lawson for 7 years. She began dating again and was seen in 2015 with Peter Repovich, director of the Los Angeles Protective League. Her daughter, Sophia Isabella Lopez, grew up to be a writer and a content creator. Her daughter, Laura, graduated from the University of Southern California in 2021 and began a career in real estate. Catherine Bach's life is a classic Hollywood tale, a humble start, a meteoric rise, personal struggles, and lasting fame. She turned a simple role into a cultural revolution and became the face of a generation. Her story reminds us that behind every icon there's a real person with triumphs and tragedies just waiting to be understood. Just a final side note, in researching this biography, I came across a number of really high-definition videos of Catherine, some of which, of course, I've included here. These are hard to come by in true HD since the Dukes of Hazzard series was shot so long ago. If you would like for me to post more of these clips, leave a comment down below or leave a thumbs up.